I'm gonna go off the dome. Ezra Miller kind of looks like Joji. Biden is running for president again. That concludes. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Can't Think Straight. This semester is coming to a close and so is the 4th season. The crew and I have one more episode for you all until we come back in September. It has been quite the year for content creation here on Can't Think Straight. We started off strong with quite possibly the worst episode of television ever created.
How the hell do I pronounce that? What?
Luckily, we found our groove by the 3rd episode when we covered the production of App State's rendition of Rocky Horror.
Frankfurter socks in bed.
Says who?
Me definitely owning sensuality, sexuality, confidence.
But yeah, come see the show, please.
Then we wrapped up season 3 by mourning the death of Emma's hamster Ted.
R.I.P. Ted!
Oh, and we caught Kylie up to speed on the Ghost of Christmas.
Okay, Christmas future is death and also Putin. The past is horny,
Yeah, horny.
and the present is Tiny Tim.
Oh, Tiny Tim's the moment.
Speed up to this season and you will find 4 random topics of discussion, 2 fantastic interviews with Todd Carter and Ozzy Ostwalt, and a bunch of information in Kylie's crash courses. Kylie has one more crash course for the season. Kylie, what do you got for us today?
Hi, I'm Kylie Carner, and this is Crash Course Can't Think Straight. And today we're going to be discussing the inequities of America's healthcare system and the barriers faced by the LGBT community when seeking medical care. In America, underrepresented minorities experience many different types of barriers when seeking medical care. Members of the LGBT community tend to be at a higher risk for health issues, and they face discrimination in every aspect of their lives. Some examples of health issues that disproportionately affect the LGBT community include STIs, or sexually transmitted infections, abuse, psychiatric disorders, and the need for gender-affirming care. Now, most of these issues do not affect only the LGBT community, but they do affect the LGBT community disproportionately for reasons that are fundamentally unjust. In the time that I have today, I'm going to be specifically discussing STIs and gender-affirming care. Now, I would like to clarify. People who have homosexual intercourse are no more likely to contract an STI than people who have heterosexual intercourse, according to Planned Parenthood. The determining factor in how risky intercourse is with regard to contracting an STI is the use of safe sex practices. Such practices can look like a lot of different things, but unfortunately, the curriculum for state-mandated sex education programs is geared towards heterosexual intercourse and relationships. Homosexual safe sex practices are not as widely taught, and there exists a stigma around the topic. As a result, STIs affect the LGBT community, especially members of the community who are people of color, significantly more than their white heterosexual counterparts. To put this disparity in perspective, the CDC reports that gay and bisexual men make up nearly half of all 2019 primary and secondary syphilis cases, and that gonorrhea rates for gay and bisexual men were 42 times that of heterosexual men in some areas. The gap between heterosexual and homosexual STD rates intersects with race, and it is an incredibly nuanced problem that encompasses many different types of systemic issues and social conditions. However, one way to combat this is inclusive sexual education, one that teaches not only about safe sex practices of the different types of intercourse, but also about consent and the differences between sex and gender. Members of the LGBT community whose assigned sex at birth conflicts with their gender identity often seek gender-affirming care. This care is, according to CNN, medically necessary, evidence-based, and uses a multidisciplinary approach. But what is gender-affirming care? According to the World Health Organization, gender-affirming care encompasses a range of social, psychological, behavioral, and medical interventions designed to support and affirm an individual's gender identity when it conflicts with the gender that they were assigned at birth. The interventions help transgender and non-binary people align various aspects of their lives, emotional, interpersonal, and biological, with their gender identity. Gender-affirming care is incredibly important, and there is overwhelming evidence to support the notion that it saves lives. It is well documented that transgender and non-binary individuals experience depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation at much higher rates than their cisgender counterparts. But in a study conducted on whether gender-affirming care is associated with a change in mental health issues, it was concluded that gender-affirming care was associated with 60% lower odds of moderate or severe depression and 73% lower odds of suicidality over a 12-month follow-up. Those numbers are so incredibly significant. The National Library of Medicine reports that antidepressant medications relieve moderate to severe depression symptoms in about 20% of individuals. Yet, a long-term solution with a 60% success rate exists for trans and non-binary individuals. Unfortunately, because gender-affirming care exclusively serves the LGBT community, there exist many different barriers to receiving it. In America, there are currently 122 bills restricting and regulating LGBT healthcare currently being debated, 4 of which are in North Carolina. Legal barriers to receiving gender-affirming care include criminalizing parents and healthcare providers who aid individuals to receiving it, permitting individuals to sue professionals who provide such care, and limiting insurance coverage and state funds for these services. The implementation of restrictions on gender-affirming care stem from homophobia and transphobia, ignorance about what it means to be transgender and non-binary, and the intent to protect children, without considering that this care may be in fact what is protecting them. Financial and legal barriers limiting LGBT individuals from seeking medical care are not limited to gender-affirming care. It is important to reiterate that in America, queer people experience many different types of prejudice and discrimination. A prime example of how different types of inequities impact LGBT access to healthcare is the gay and transgender wage gap. The Center for American Progress reports that gay and bisexual men, on average, make between 14% and 16% less than their heterosexual counterparts, and that pay for transgender women falls, on average, by nearly a third after they transition. About 97% of American healthcare providers use a fee-for-service model, a payment model in which doctors, hospitals, and medical practices charge separately for each service that they perform. Members of the LGBT community objectively make less money than cisgender and heterosexual individuals, and as a result, they often have to make decisions about where to seek care based upon what is affordable. In addition to the wage gap, some insurance companies and healthcare providers discriminate against LGBT individuals. Forbes reports that 1 in 8 LGBT Americans have experienced discrimination from their health insurance provider. LGBT Americans are also less likely to be insured, and coverage disparities are much more stark for some groups of LGBT people, especially those who seek gender-affirming care. Ultimately, restrictions, regulations, and barriers for the queer community exist at every level of medical care. Now, you may be wondering, what can I do about it? These issues, unfortunately, are systemic and result from institutionalized homophobia and transphobia, which cannot be changed overnight. The changes necessary to make our healthcare system equitable and of equal access to everyone, regardless of their sexuality and gender identity, will take a long time and a great deal of legislation. In the meantime, however, it is imperative that you know the obstacles facing the queer community when you seek medical care, especially when it is for issues that disproportionately affect the queer community. But why am I telling you this? Everyone, regardless of their sexuality or gender identity, is deserving of equal access to healthcare. America's healthcare system is among the best in the world, and our government spends more on the medical industry than any other country. It is deplorable that despite our country's resources, citizens' healthcare access is impacted by their gender identity and sexuality. Whether you are a part of the LGBT community or not, it is exceedingly important to be aware and knowledgeable about things that directly affect the people around you. The first step in changing and addressing these awful barriers and inequities in America's healthcare system is self-advocacy and awareness. When the system is working against you, making informed decisions and self-advocating for your health is absolutely necessary. That's all for today. Catch you next time on Crash Course with Kylie.
For those of you who don't know or don't make it to the credits, Kylie researches, writes, and soon will edit all of her Crash Courses. And it is quite the endeavor. So I just wanted to take a second and thank her for what she does for you guys and for the show. When we come back, I'll be reading some headlines, so stay tuned. So before I get to headlines, I've got a little news of my own. I'd like to preface this by saying if you saw two crazy people chasing a black cat on Sanford Mall a couple weeks ago, no, you didn't. You didn't. You just didn't. Well, my girlfriend and I's beloved cat, Winston, also known as Wigwam, decided to give us a heart attack this last Sunday. Little dude escaped from his harness. He's like a snake, man. You know, like how squids, like they can get out of whatever their beak can fit through? Apparently Winston's the same way. He decided to take a few laps around Sanford Mall, just, you know, like a rally car. And, you know, after watching us hurdle railings and practically fall down a set of stairs, Winston decided he was done running around and quietly waited for us to come get him on the stairs, like going down to Sanford Mall. It was pretty ridiculous. But it's crazy how much we care about these little animals we let stay in our homes. Well, on to the real headlines. Lucas Gage and Chris Appleton recently got married. The two grooms were decked out in leather and fur, and the wedding was officiated by none other than Kim Kardashian. One has to wonder what the dress code for an event like this would entail. Speaking of Kim, she recently stated in an interview that she would happily give up reality TV to become a full-time lawyer. If she dyes her hair blonde and starts carrying around a little dog, she'd be living out the plot of Legally Blonde, like fully. Snapchat released a new AI chat feature. The character sits at the top of your screen and patiently waits for you to prompt it. And I've seen what you people have asked the thing, and I really never thought I would feel so bad for a piece of technology. Like, please, that's what the Google search bar is for. In grosser news, Biden is running for president again, and he's keeping Kamala Harris by his side throughout the election. Again. I mean, are we sure, like, Biden can even run again? I mean, we saw that video of him chasing after the ice cream truck, right?
And for families across the...
I'm so convinced he's not like... Kim Petras and Nicki Minaj wrote a song together. The song was reported to be the gay anthem for the summer, but instead gives 2016 Chainsmokers, according to our technical producer, Emma. The PA Fairness Act just made history and passed in the second reading at record speed. The act makes it so people cannot be discriminated against just because of their sexual or gender identity. Ron DeSantis wanted to shut down Disney because they were too progressive, a term I never thought I would hear in my life. Basically, he just didn't want people to, talk about homosexuality ever, specifically in elementary schools, but whatever. Well, Disney retaliated by not only taking his money, but also making the park even gayer by having iconic characters dress up in rainbow outfits, which I would believe is the correct response to this. Well, I believe that's all I got for you guys. When we come back, we've got a really great package, so stick around. Oh, and thanks for watching Headlines.
Bryce in the shotgun takes a snap. Troy sends 4. Bryce rolls left, gonna heave it deep, and it's not gonna get there. It's caught by Christian Horn. He's around the outside, and it scores! He scores! Epstein wins! Holy mother meatballs! It's a touchdown for Epstein on a Hail Mary! Christian Horn! Touchdown!
Today, I'm going to go over some information about how to self-administer hormones and give you a quick tutorial. First, identify a location where you feel comfortable and safe to give yourself the injection. This could be at a doctor's office, at home, or at a friend or loved one's home. Make sure your space is well lit and you have all the necessary supplies. If you're feeling nervous about giving yourself the injection, we're next going to walk you through some helpful steps in a guided meditation to ease your anxiety and help you relax your body.
So we're going to do a quick guided meditation to ease some anxiety you may have. This allows for a chance to regulate anxiety surrounding administration of HRT. The medication and needle is a tool to help you become who you are. So getting in touch with your senses can help you find the confidence to get through this experience. Start by settling into a comfortable position and allow your eyes to close. Begin by taking several long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in fully and exhaling fully. It is helpful to count the breaths. Inhale for 3 seconds and exhale for 5. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose or mouth. Allow your breath to find its own natural rhythm. Bring your full attention to noticing each in-breath as it enters your nostrils and travels down to your lungs and causes your belly to rise. Place your hands on your belly if that's helpful. Feel the rise and fall of your belly as you breathe. Notice each out-breath as your belly contracts and air moves through the lungs, back up through the nostrils or mouth. Focus on this flow of breath. Let your breathing be soft, full, and easy, and repeat until you feel calm and relaxed. Now we'll wash our hands. Imagine the water is washing away any fear or anxiety that may be left over, and continue doing your deep breaths.
After washing your hands, next, gather supplies and make a clean, comfortable work area. Your supplies will include alcohol pads, one to wipe down the top of your vial or your medication, and one to clean your skin. Your medication vial, Band-Aid, a sterile syringe, needles, one for drawing up the medication from the vial, and one needle for administering your medication. A sharps container for disposal. Check the medication. Make sure that you have the correct medication name. Check the expiration date. If it is expired, do not use it. Make sure the medication isn't discolored. If it is discolored, do not use it. Make sure there are no visible particles. If you see particles, do not use. Contact your provider if expired, discolored, and/or you see particles. Time to prep the injection dose. With an alcohol swab, clean the rubber stopper at the top of your vial. Connect the sterile needle to draw up your medication. Draw air into the syringe equal to that of your dose with the cap still on, while pushing the needle into the upright vial and inject the air into the vial. Then flip the vial upside down and pull on the plunger. If you inject more than prescribed, please contact your provider immediately. Turn the vial upright. Remove the needle from the tip of the vial. Pull down the plunger. Make sure any medication that may be left is drawn into the syringe. Twist off the drop needle from the syringe and place the needle in the sharps container. Connect a new needle to inject. If you're doing an IM injection, a gauge 22 needle would be suitable. If you're doing a subcutaneous injection, a gauge 25 needle would be what you need. Check for air bubbles. Make sure to remove as many air bubbles as possible by flicking the side of the syringe. Push the plunger until air bubbles are cleared from syringe. And choose your injection sites. There are different sites that are for your different injections. Your common IM sites would be your outer thigh, or your buttocks. For common subcutaneous sites would be your belly and your thigh. And you make sure you rotate the injection site. Now it's time to give yourself the injection. Prime the needle by pushing gently on the plunger of the syringe so that the medication fills up the length of the needle, and you will see a drop of the medication on the tip of the needle. Move your thumb and index finger into place by holding taut the skin at your injection site. Quickly enter the skin at a 90-degree angle for IM injections or at a 45-degree angle for a subcutaneous injection. Slowly push the plunger down to empty the syringe and inject the hormones. Count 1, 2, 3. With one swift motion, pull the needle directly out of the injection site at the same angle you entered. Use gauze band-aid to cover and put a little pressure at injection site. Discard the needle and syringe. Engage the safety device or recap your needle. Discard in a sharps container. That's it. Take a breath. You did it. You may have pain, redness, bruising, bleeding, or hardness at the injection site. If the injection site symptoms continue for a couple of days or start to get worse, please contact your provider.
About time to wrap up the episode, and I'm like kind of getting emotional about it because I only have 2 seasons left before I force the show on to the next victim. But before I think about it too much, we've got one more segment. I think you guys know what's coming. Roll the clip. Today's guest is the one, the only, Kennedy Madron. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Pretty stoked.
So Kennedy and I actually had a class together, and we didn't realize for what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah.
I don't know, for a minute, we had no idea. So obviously we're super observant people who are prepared to discuss the rigorous topics presented by the wheel. So,
okay.
What was that like weird thing you collected when you were a kid and or still collect?
Definitely rocks.
Rocks.
I was a huge amethyst girl.
10 out of 10.
Rose quartz.
Ooh.
Went to the gym mine, sifted through the stuff. I was all about that.
Got it.
And then those little erasers at the book fairs. Mm-hmm. Like I had the foods, I had the animals, I had the weird like pencil that was an eraser, which is like an oxymoron in itself. So I'd say definitely the little erasers.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, you like sparked something in me when you said the erasers, because that was my thing. Mm-hmm. I actually I had like a tackle box filled with erasers. I had like a bunch of little hamster erasers that I loved. They were iconic.
They were, and I just remember there was one in particular, and of course this was like 3rd grade.
Right.
So we loved all of the poop jokes and the toilet jokes, and there was a toilet and a plunger one, and everybody went crazy for it. They were sold out in like 2 days.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely feasible. Like if you presented me with a toilet and a plunger eraser, oh yeah,
it's going on the top shelf of my bookshelf.
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, absolutely. It's getting its own like case. Yes. You know, like figurine style case. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, erasers really went hard. I remember like the mustache phase too.
Oh my gosh, I was like ahead of its time because I used to make them out of pipe cleaners when I was a kid.
Okay.
And sell them for like a nickel. Entrepreneur.
A little business person we have over here. Oh my God! So instead of lemonade, you would be like on the corner with like
the pipe cleaners. What kind of mustache would you like?
She's different, y'all. She ain't like other girls. Speaking of rocks too, because that was something we collected. I don't know why, but I remember my cousins and my brother, we all collected a bunch of rocks and put like googly eyes and faces on them.
Oh, that's perfect.
Right, and he proposed we sell them, and I was like,
You're selling pet rocks, essentially.
and I was like, you're selling my child? I was like, I might as well have birthed and created this rock. Like, absolutely not, I'm not putting this up for sale.
Right. Sentimental value.
Right,
It's
I know.
your child.
And he was like, Jenna, get over it. Granted, he was like,
Granite.
granite. That was so ding. Yeah, no, granted, we were very young, but he's also my younger brother, so the fact that he was like, Jenna, you need to get over yourself here. It really put things into perspective for me.
Right.
And I think that's like when I gained consciousness.
In that moment when I had to sell my pet rock, that's when I gained
But I had to sell my rock child. The Rock.
Should have named him Dwayne, honestly.
I was gonna say, can we please get a picture of Dwayne in here? Do you see the picture of whenever he did have that kid? And he was like laying in the hospital bed, like shirtless, like with the kid. Like
No, I just saw the meme where it was like rock pebble. That's the only one I saw.
No, that's
Yeah.
a good one too. Oh my God, yeah, no, he was like in his wife's hospital bed. Like she'd like just given birth, like probably like in pain, like exhausted, in and out of consciousness. And he's like, scoot over. I wanna get a picture with the baby. Wait, let me take my shirt off real quick. Skin to skin content, contact, babe. Skin to skin content. Is there anything else that you collected that was kind of odd before we wrap this segment up?
No, it's just that like all the little collections that I had as a kid kind of stemmed into what I collect now as an adult.
Yeah.
Which are just like little enamel pins and like vinyl records.
Oh yeah, no,
So-
absolutely. I've got tons of vinyls. I love them. I'm like,
too.
I've got a little record player. Do I ever play them? Not really. Do you?
Collecting it. Well, I have a Victrola and those things are and they mess up your records, so I don't use it.
So I've got like an Amazon one that I was like, oh, just in case if I play it. They just look real nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Sweet.
Thanks for watching. Well, that concludes another season of Can't Think Straight. Isn't that whack?
Insane.
Whack.
Truly.
Thanks again to my crew back there. I love you guys, including Macaulay. Macaulay's not here right now, but I wish them so much so much good. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure to catch us next September for a brand new season.